Yo guys, and thanks for tuning in again. We're on the third map this time, looking of course at the new endgame maps and just giving you guys some footage on them for people who maybe don't have endgame or are on the fence about getting it. I'm trying to show off the map itself rather than actual footage per se, and also I've mashed up some Conquest, Capture the Flag and Rush, all for your viewing pleasure. Also I have some epic panda slippers which are giving me superpowers. Just saying. Anyhow, this map we're looking at is Operation Riverside. Now it took some digging, but upon researching it, it turns out this map is set alongside a river. You can thank me later for that information. I did all the legwork, so you don't have to. So the middle section of the map is where the river is. It does kind of remind me of the centre of Caspian border to a certain extent, and it wouldn't be surprising me if Caspian border had some influence on certain aspects of this map design. The outer sections of the map are very much green field, reminiscent of the outer areas of Caspian, but this map does have very different feel for the most part, and is probably a little bit smaller as well, I'd say. The map theme is kind of an electric substation, and the certain areas and flags which have electrical substation elements actually do look very nice, and there's a lot of cover to those parts of the map. It also adds new elements to the map rather than just sort of rehashing parts and buildings from other maps. However, this is still done to a certain extent, specifically the main warehouses in the map are just rehashed from, for instance, back to Karkand and those maps. So for those of you who don't know Endgame, the DLC maps have a theme, and the theme is seasons. So we have winter, summer, spring, etc. This map is based around autumn, as you can probably guess from the leaves and such, and the general feel of the map. The flags aren't massively far apart either, making it comfortable for an infantry map. Soldiers can easily run between flags, and I think a cool part is that the river running through the centre of the map has some handily placed containers that you can play hopscotch across should you wish to, just to get to the other side. There's also quite a few jumps on the map, most notably two that I will focus on in particular that are specific jumps. There's a concrete jump near the centre of the map which equates to an epic dirt bike jump that you really need to check out. You can really get some airtime if you hit shift as you're hitting it. Give yourself a bit of a boost. Some epic airtime to be had there. I'm waiting for somebody to do that jump with maybe some C4 on their bike as a chopper flies by. That's going to be pretty special. There's a secondary, less exciting wooden ramp jump which goes across a thinner part of the river. But that one's not quite as good, but it is still, it does still add to the epic dirt bike action that can be had on this particular map. Oddly enough, this is the third map I've looked at, and out of the four, it's actually probably third on my list of favourites as well. It's something I didn't intend, but the order I've released the videos actually strangely represents the listing in terms of my favourites. Sabalan Pipeline is my favourite of all four, followed closely by Nibandan Flats, and then this map. It's got a nice feel to it, and I do like the layout. The layout's fairly structured on Conquest. The maps and the jumps lend itself fairly well for the new Capture the Flag mode, but I do think that the electrical elements in the US base make it a lot harder to cap the flag, or grab the flag, because there are a lot of little places the enemy can camp behind to hold you off. Whereas the other base, the Russian base, doesn't necessarily have those elements to it. There's a small building and whatnot, but there's nowhere near as much cover. I think this is a theme actually in the overall map design of all of these maps, where I feel that on Capture the Flag, the flag bases on either side don't feel very balanced. This is my own opinion. I feel as though on a lot of the maps, Sabalan Pipeline, this map, one of the bases has a lot more cover and far better holding positions than the other. Sabalan Pipeline has a big building that you can actually overwatch the flag, making it very hard to get. This map has the electrical sort of conduit areas that you can literally just hide behind, and in that regard I think that's a little bit unbalanced in terms of Capture the Flag, but overall the map does play very well. If you haven't already as well, it's probably worth heading over to the Battlefield blog and checking out the blog post that was made about the jumps in Battlefield 3 and how they were made. It's an interesting read if you have a few minutes to spare, and it really helps you appreciate how much work and effort really does go into the map creation and overall design of the maps and the levels. The blog is actually quite a good place to pick up some information, and usually they have some interesting reads on there as well. It might be map design, it might be how they come to a gameplay decision, and if you're interested in that sort of thing, it's very much worth checking out, because there's always something useful or informative on there. Now, getting back to the map, I haven't played this map as much on Rush as I have the other game modes. This map in particular I've probably played a lot more on Conquest and Capture the Flag, and I feel as though on Capture the Flag it plays quite well. I think the river kind of adds another element to it. You kind of got to go off-road really. You don't really want to take the main road because that's full of mines usually. So you want to really loop around, and on the far right hand side, depending on which base you're coming from of course, there's a great area of just fields and a vast area of space that you can really utilise. Obviously as well you can use the jumps that we talked about earlier. They're really good for just getting over that river, and as you can see in this video at the end, the easiest way I found of capturing the flag on Capture the Flag was literally looping all the way round the back end over the fields. I jumped off the bike, grabbed the flag, and then literally just made a dash over the bridge to the other side. And I think that's the best way of doing it. I was fortunate on this instance that there wasn't anybody camping in the electrical conduits on my right hand side and that sort of thing. If that is the case, it does become quite hard to get that particular flag unless you're working as a team, which you should be anyway, but it's not always as easy as it sounds. Now when the map on Rush gets to the warehouse section, it really does remind me of Striker Karkan for some reason. I know that the warehouse is the one used on Striker Karkan, so maybe it's that, but just the feel kind of reminds me of that. But what they have done is they've made the warehouses feel a lot fuller. It's something that I noticed on the other endgame maps. These warehouses aren't as empty as say they are on Striker Karkan. If you notice the huge warehouses on there, they're quite empty. They feel empty. There's a couple of crates dotted around, whereas these warehouses feel full. It feels like they're being used, and I don't know whether that's been a conscious decision that they've come to, or it's just the way it ended up. I don't know whether they've sat down and thought, well, maybe these warehouses don't feel as full as they can do, and it's distracting or detracting from the actual gameplay. But either way, they've kind of filled them up, and it's made it feel a little bit more, I'm not going to say realistic, but it's just made it more appropriate, I think. Overall, the map's got good gameplay though. As I said, I don't think it's the best of the three maps. In my personal opinion, that goes to either Sabalan Pipeline or an Abandoned Flats. But overall, it feels quite nice on each of the game modes. Conquest, Capture the Flag and Rush, it all has its place. So overall, I've been pretty happy with this map. We're coming up to the last one now, so check out that video as well. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.